Check, check, check.
Check, check, check.
Hey everybody, it's Rob. We're just about to get started with this week's episode. Less than 10 minutes left. While you got a couple of minutes here, why don't you go check out otheanthem.com. It's where you can find everything Oh The Anthem, including the merch store, the podcast, and all of the videos. Open up a new tab.
Anchor.fm/Oh The Anthem is the place where you can get direct links to all the podcatchers you use to listen to our show every week.
Did you know we record every episode live on Facebook? Of course you do. But make sure that you're liking the page and turning on notifications so you get notified when we go live.
We make a ton of video content between the podcast, the short films, Heretics. YouTube.com/Oh The Anthem is the place for it all.
And of course you can find me on any social network at Robert N. Cheek.
And me at LegendCB5.
And you can find the podcast at Oh The Anthem on all your social networks. Before we get to that, we have to talk about the ongoing thing that is the 2020 election. Most specifically, the president's reaction to the 2020 election. And this is, I think, the most telling image to come out of this entire election process. And this thing that you see to my side here is a list of Trump tweets. And don't worry, I didn't go to Trump's tweets because I don't want to do that. But I did go to a website where somebody was talking about his tweets and I stole their screenshot. So, but this is what they're doing now. They are just basically saying, he posted a tweet. The first tweet here is, it's actually from a couple weeks ago, but big press conference today in Philadelphia at Four Seasons, total landscaping. Oh, this
was nothing wrong about that tweet. Flag that one, Twitter.
Meme of the week was somebody who had their yard being done by Four Seasons and they had like the trailer parked out front and it was like, I feel like I'm meeting a celebrity.
They're taking advantage though. They are putting together t-shirts and stuff like they have a Lawn and Order t-shirt.
Yeah.
Make America Rake Again, I think was one of theirs. Like it's pretty good. They're capital. I always like it when a small business like this can totally capitalize on the situation.
I have not liked I think we talked about it last year when we went home for Christmas and a lot of Maryland was like choose us for your plumbing and choose Trump again in 2020. And I'm like, nope, not using you. But I will take the punny advertisements by the company that got roped into this for no reason, clearly.
Well, it also sounded like the call that was involved in booking it was like, are you guys available for a press conference today? And it's like, yeah, sure, I guess.
Like, I mean, we don't have a conference room. We have the parking lot. We'll take it. It's fine. Is the sign out there? Are we going to be able to see the sign? Yes. Okay, we got it.
Good enough.
George, I just got the weirdest call. The president's coming here? I don't know.
Rudy Giuliani and somebody on the sex offender registry is going to be showing up.
Aren't those the same person?
Hit it,
Manny. Hey. But so what they've done is basically Twitter has censored the president. And I use this as an example just because his first tweet is relatively normal. It's just making a point. And then he follows it up with a bunch of like, the election is fraud and people are voting who shouldn't have voted. And Twitter's just basically like, nope, we're not.
About it like this, like if you say you were going to court for something, right? Like you were wrongly accused for killing your wife and it was really the one-armed man who did it, right? And you needed to hire a lawyer and you look around and you can't get any of the top lawyers, so you have to settle for Rudy Giuliani, or someone of his ilk, right?
Wait, is he the guy with his hand in his pants in that video?
In the Borat, yes.
No, okay.
So you have to hire a Rudy Giuliani-like lawyer, right? And then you're showing up for court. You're like in your suit. You're ready for the whole thing to start. You're looking around for your lawyer. And then he comes in. He's just like, like, oh, sorry, I'm late. I got pulled over for a DUI, but it's all right. I bribed the cop. And you got to like look at him and you're just like, should you be my legal counsel at this moment? If this is how badly you fuck up on the way to help me, is this something that I want to examine further?
There's a meme thing that I loved when I was practicing law, and it's like, it's still good. It just doesn't, I don't see these on the daily anymore. It was like, you're going to jail if, and it was like pictures of lawyers where like one guy was wearing house shoes to court. And they're like, if your lawyer shows up with these, you going to jail. So you should just cut a deal. And one of them, the lawyer came in and he was wearing a Tommy Bahama shirt. And then he borrowed somebody's jacket to put on over it and pushed his very long hair out of his face with sunglasses. And they're like, if your lawyer looks like this, you're going to jail. So you need to cut a deal.
I can't even. The other thing is that like Trump, in part of the preparing for possibly having to have a legal fight upcoming in this election, looked at Jared and was just like, we have the legal team all squared away, right? And Jared's like, yeah, no problem. No
We
problem.
got it.
We got it. And then he turns around and it's Pam Bondi and Rudy Giuliani. And like,
all right, who's still bar approved here? Anybody?
I would imagine
All right.
that when Trump was like, get me the finest set of election lawyers you can find, like you're thinking that he's going to put together like an OJ style dream team or something like that. Like not Giuliani and Pam Bondi.
What are the odds that Jared
'Cause
put together a really great team, and then they went to meet Trump, and Trump's like, I don't know any of these guys. Who are these guys? And like, this is literally the primo election law team in the country. And he's like, nah, we got to get Rudy in here. Is Rudy still in the building? Pam? Is Pam here? Can we add these? And then all the other lawyers were like, nah, fuck this. And they left. And it's just Rudy and Pam now.
I don't get it.
But obviously, the point of this being Trump is fighting the results of the election on grounds that, as a former attorney, do not make sense to me. As a political scientist, I have the degree. They don't make sense to me. As a scholar, if you will, of politics, they don't make sense to me. Have you heard anything that, other than the automatic recounts, which the states are like, yeah, we got to redo the vote. We got to count them again. And by the way, how upset's Nevada going to be when they finish in 6 weeks and then they got to redo that same vote next day? Poor people.
We'll have it by the next election. Don't worry.
But
by the way,
anything?
the memes last week of making fun of Nevada were chef's kiss, just beautiful. I loved it. I was enjoying every single one of them.
Well, and I think I told you on near election day, my theory is that the state secretary of state there was like, all right, we have a chance to be a kingmaker here. We can make every president come to Nevada. So we need to time this out exactly right. Okay, how far are we? 86. All right, we're right on track. Oh, Pennsylvania's caught it. Well, shit. Never mind. All right, just whenever you're ready, give me those ballots. Because it felt like they were trying to build it up to be like, Arizona's going to call, and he needs 6. He's got to get 6 to get to 270, and guess who's got 6, baby? It's right here.
What's amazing to me about the whole thing is that like it would be the same way if the election ever came down to California. Like if it's like all the states were decided except for California because, I don't know, some Republican from California was running for president. The Anthem podcast. We have a very important week in politics with the Georgia Senate runoff happening tomorrow and the vote for whether or not to certify the election happening on Wednesday. Busy week. On top of that, what else happened? Oh yeah, Trump was threatening the Georgia Secretary of State to overturn the election. We'll get into that, as well as all the other things that come along with it, including whether or not we should have a censure or a secret plot to get rid of Nancy Pelosi. On top of that, we have COVID just running rampant all over the place, whole new problems that we will get into, and we needed the win. We got the win. Ravens are in the playoffs. We'll talk about it right now, coming up on the Oh, the Anthem podcast. Happy New Year! All right, enough of the fun stuff. This is Corey, and this is the Anthem podcast.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob. Welcome to episode 352 of the The Anthem podcast. Yet another year, yet another episode. This time the count's right, though. Thank you for joining us. Coming to you from the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, Rob, I got to say something about New Year's just right up top.
Okay.
I'm a little bit upset because usually we go out for New Year's.
Usually.
So it's
Usually, yeah.
I mean, we do something.
Yes,
There's some sort of an event. And obviously this year that did not happen.
Mm-hmm.
And when it became close to midnight on the West Coast here, I was looking it up, and I could not find a local, like, West Coast themed New Year celebration anywhere. They were just replaying the East Coast version of, like, everything to get you up to midnight, but it was just watching the ball drop in New York and stuff like that. And I don't know if this is something I just noticed or if this is something that has always been this way, but that kind of sucks.
Well, usually we're on the East Coast, so we don't care so much.
We were going to be up for the 3 hours to wait until...
It's 3 a.m. We're going to bed anyway. It doesn't really matter. I feel like we were back. Were we back last year for New Year's? We were, but we did like old people thing. We went to dinner, and then we were there at midnight, and then we went to sleep.
Yes.
Yeah, so last year was my ideal New Year's. It was Fogo de Chao for dinner, for a late dinner at 9, home 11:40. We popped some champagne. We saw the ball drop in New York, the repeat.
Yeah.
And then I was in bed by 12:15.
I feel like we were watching something else, though. Maybe it was a YouTube. I mean, like, I know this year... I was just like, fuck it, I'm just going to pull up a YouTube thing that's counting down.
So this was the live. It was YouTube Live. It was a live counter where they were going and showing you, like, here was what New York did, and then in the same moment we'll show you Sydney and London and Paris. And on New York time, they were showing Sydney and London and Paris.
Yeah.
And on London time, they were showing Paris and Sydney and, you know, everything that happened before. So it was New Year's all around the clock as you progressed further. We're just the last ones.
Right.
One of the last ones on that list. So
yeah,
one of those things. But it was
last probably landmark time zone before you get to the international date line. Because you got Hawaii.
Yeah, Hawaiian's on Hawaiian time, so that's 1 hour.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying, like, other than Hawaii and parts of Alaska, like, is there another New Year's celebration that would be, because Japan's on the other side of the international date line, right?
It's right in the middle of the Pacific. So there are, like, Midway Island is just on this side of the international date line. So they do the
last one.
Yeah, we're the last. While there's islands on the other side that do the first.
Yeah,
like Sydney isn't the first. Sydney is 2 hours into the new year or somebody like that. But you know, I remember 2000. 2000 was the year that people really discussed it, where they were like, "Oh, we're the first in the new millennium," and then Midway Island had their, like, the last end of we're still the last ones in the 90s.
Even though technically it didn't start till 2001. I hate those people. I just did it. I don't know why I did it.
Listen, I was in high school. I was sophomore. I went out and drank for New Year's for the first time in my life, and everything. I mean, listen, we had an N64. We had pizza. We had beer. My life has really just been downhill since that moment. The Y2 bug didn't hit, and everything I had planned for went sideways. And
My computer at the time went up. I had a Brother laptop. It did not survive Y2K. I think it's the only thing that didn't survive Y2K. Thank God it didn't shut everything down because it wasn't connected to the internet.
well, I was gonna say
It was a literally $200 laptop. Can you
the
believe?
saddest part of that story is that Corey's parents got him a printer with a screen and convinced him it was a laptop, and he just thinks it went down, and they unplugged it, and that's it. That's the end of that.
It didn't have an operating system. It had like a word processor, and
Is that like my TI-83? Where
basically
I
it
just
was
spell boobs upside down, and that's it.
it's a very fancy calculator.
I just realized that 2000 letdown.
Yeah.
Wasn't what we thought it was going to be. 2012 letdown.
Mm-hmm.
World did not end.
Right.
Then I hear 2020. I sent you that meme, the 1920, 1820 pandemics each time. And I'm like, 2020, we're going to get that pandemic. And then, funny enough,
We got that
we got a pandemic, which was unthought of. Here's the disappointing part. I just can't get the world to end in my lifetime. No matter what happens, we can't get it to end.
Well,
Trump, not even Trump did it. Oh, God.
Yet. Trump didn't do it yet. But we'll get into that. First, speaking of the last time something is going to happen for a while, the Georgia Senate runoff, the last election of this election cycle, is due to happen tomorrow.
Sure?
Yeah.
Seems like we've had a lot of them. I don't know.
I hope that there's nothing new that comes out between now and the 20th. I just can't take it anymore. But yes, it's the much publicized David Perdue versus John Ossoff and
The chicken guy?
Raphael Warnock, and that's another David Perdue, isn't it?
It's Daniel Perdue, I think.
Oh, Daniel. I don't know. Yeah, and then Warnock and Kelly Loeffler. Everyone knows the stakes at this point. The Democrats need to win 2 to be able to get a 50-50 tie in the Senate and having a tie-breaking vote from Kamala Harris. Not 50-50, 48, 50, and 2, even though the 2 independents go caucus with the Democrats.
Yes.
But effectively 50-50. And
Corey, here's the thing. They're sorry, let me get back to 2 shots people see me. They're all Marxists.
Yeah.
If you listen to the speech we just watched, they're all Marxists. They're radical socialists. They're the people who we drove out of Paris, according to Tommy Turtletub or whatever his name is. The Auburn coach who's now a senator.
Oh, Tommy Tuberville. Yeah.
Tuberville. Yeah. They're all the people we drove out of Paris and Berlin, Nazi socialists. Communists. So clearly, there are threats to society.
I like how there's no line, with much like with Democrats calling Republicans racist. Like anything is good enough for you to cross the line into racist. Like any.
I mean, but a lot of them are racist.
Well, no, but
a lot of them are racist.
No, but I'm saying like in the minds of some people who like to call people racist, like you could either be screaming the N-word on the street. Mm-hmm. Or you could be saying something that's very minute, and you've crossed the racism line,
I really want to bring back hashtag socially acceptable racism. Can I start, now that I'm tweeting again, can I start tweeting that as a dash?
See, but those are good examples because they were always like puns, more or less, or things that sounded like they were racist, but they weren't really racist,
Yeah, it was the Corey out of context. That's a better hashtag. Corey out of context, where it sounds really racist, but if you had heard it in the conversation, it wasn't actually.
But then
racist.
when Rob just tweets the one sentence that I said, it sounds like I'm a maniac.
Well, those people should expect to get treated that way. We're talking about sex offenders, but it just sounds weird if you only tweet that one sentence.
But yes, this upcoming election here is very interesting to me because there's so many. I was telling you before, I think people think of like political science more as like you get somebody who has a political science degree and then you can see all the possible problems that come up and have somebody savvy who solves them, when it's really more that you're just a historian who knows how like turns happen, like.
Well, I mean, Richard Jenny said political science degree was like Amway. You get the degree just to learn that you need to get more degrees and then sell other people on coming to get that degree. Which
I can either become a lawyer or teach other people political science.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, if Richard Jenny had given it some thought, he might have compared it to Scientology more than Amway, because now what we know, it's a lot like Scientology. But yeah, it's a historian but an active historian. It's, I know these things, and I'm going to try to show you how they apply to this thing that's happening right now.
Yeah.
Without saying, let's wait 10 years, and then I'll show you why these two things were exactly alike, and we should have seen it.
But the reason I bring that up is because there are so many different variables involved in this particular election that are unlike anything else that we've really had before. Because, I mean, like, there's been special elections before, but this is very different than other special elections. We've had mail-in voting for elections. Mm-hmm. We've never had it for a singular election like this, or to this extent, early voting and mail-in voting.
I don't know if you know this, but one of these candidates doesn't hold the values or the family. He's not the same color as anyone in Georgia, according to the president. I forgot the flourish language he used to say he's not like you.
I think it was the most liberal progressive candidate who's ever run for Senate in Georgia. And then I looked over at Rob and I was like, what he means by that is the blackest person who's ever run for.
The blackest guy who ran for office in Georgia. Yeah, he should know better.
That was the very coded. Maybe there's the line, like like somebody's hearing that going like, oh, the most liberal person who's ever run for Georgia is like, he's just trying to say black. Oh, the racism. It's out of control. It's a spectrum. It's less than the guy it's less than Michael Richards at the Improv. Like
if you say that, I shouldn't take it as racist. But when Trump says that, I absolutely say it's racist. Like, it's source as well. So.
I mean, like if Trump said oh, what about a red delicious apple? I'm like, you fucking racist.
Even Washington football team gave up that term already. Wait, what did he say? Am I not? Did I misunderstand? Sorry. My brain goes there immediately.
Granny Smith or nothing, you racist pig.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, anywho, there's just so many things here that there is not really. In a effort to try and find things to talk about in reference to this election, I couldn't really find anything that checks as many boxes as this one does. And in my mind, that makes it more unpredictable because we don't really have a baseline going in like we would in most elections. Like most elections, you'd be able to say, we have this vote every 2 years for this congressional district. Over the last 20 years, this congressional district is a lean plus 15 red or something and you can use that beginning knowledge to understand where your candidate is polling as opposed to things. I haven't really seen a lot of high quality polls in Georgia for the runoff. I think a lot of people have been cutting bait and not wanting to do them because they don't want to have a poll that comes out and it's wrong, which a lot of polls this past election cycle were off.
Are you telling me Nate Silver doesn't want to jump into this discussion?
Well, okay. So one thing, just as a thing, I get that Nate Silver is like the head of the analytics of the politics idea here. He put himself there, though. He put himself there. He's literally just taking the numbers of others.
Yeah. He's an aggregator.
Yeah, he just takes all the polls and then they decide how important these polls are and help to try and put some context to these things that people wouldn't otherwise know.
He's the Reddit of pollsters. Now, there are people in my life who take Reddit as the end all and be all.
Yeah.
Just like they do Nate Silver. And there are people like Corey who are like, Reddit? Is that still a thing? Like Nate Silver, where people are like, is that still a thing?
I would say this might be a deep pull for some, but Nate Silver is kind of like the Bill James of politics because like Bill James didn't invent analytics in baseball.
Okay.
But he was the first one who realized that by collecting so many numbers, he could understand like shortcuts to success more or less.
Way to pull the most generic name in history with no reference as to what it is.
Just like John Smith. That John Smith.
Wait and analytics. Okay, baseball analytics. With you. Know who we're talking about now.
Now I know. Sure. Now I got it.
Yeah. But the other thing that makes this special election in Georgia out there, it's a state that has changed dramatically in the last 4 years since the last election. It's been problematic before.
2 years since Stacey Abrams, really.
Oh yeah, 2 years since Abrams governor run. But even more than that, it went to Jimmy Carter. It went to Bill Clinton. It was close on Al Gore, not as close as it was this time around.
Right.
But, it went to Obama in 2008, but then went to...
No, Obama didn't get it. He almost got it.
Almost got it.
Yeah,
okay,
he was very close.
So it's that one of those things that's been like on the border already.
But I think if I remember correctly, in 2008 he was really close, and they thought in 2012
it would
be they might be able to get it, and then they pulled further away.
Yeah.
So like.
And then Trump did really well in 2016 in Georgia, but now Biden took it. And it's like it seems so unpredictable. But not only is that an issue, not only are the candidates an issue, because David Perdue is now you corrected me on this. I keep saying family money, but maybe he's a self-made man.
I seem to remember I watched some biography on him or something like that, like on YouTube. I think Vox was doing little biographies of candidates and stuff like that. And I seem to remember he didn't come from money, and he just did well and like was the CEO of a business that got really, really big and then fell apart. And then he became like the CEO that got brought in to save a sinking company. And
Which
then
also
they would always sink.
Yeah.
And then he'd get a payout from it. And then
the Mitt Romney effect, which is good-looking white guy who could be a savior but ends up sinking your business.
Right. Yeah.
By the way, Bain Capital, which is Mitt Romney's company, that's what they do. They come in, they tear you to pieces, sell you for the highest value, and then move on to the next company.
Right.
So not that David Perdue does that.
It's like John Taffer meets Shark Tank.
Yeah. So he, anyway, started out on third by being white and male and in the South. So good for you. Kelly Loeffler,
by the way, we were saying we did the episode way back when where we talked about Purdue and Loeffler's stock thing, and that's when everyone was still calling her Loeffler.
Yes, and it's Loeffler.
We all looked at it and said that's Loeffler if I've ever seen it, but apparently it's Loeffler. So the O is silent, hon.
And that's real hard for people. But Kelly Loeffler, who was rich, married richer, and now is uber rich thanks to some stock maybe she made during the pandemic.
And being married to the guy who runs the stock market.
Yeah, it certainly helps. Against a preacher from Martin Luther King Jr.'s church.
Right.
And a guy who public service I know is in his past.
Are you talking about Ossoff?
Yes.
Journalist,
but I feel like there was something else, like maybe it was in college he volunteered. I don't know. It was, but nothing high paying nonetheless.
Right.
It was just like, here's the career in money making of Ossoff, and then Warnock is slightly higher.
Yeah.
And then a lot of blank empty space, and then Loeffler, and then above that Purdue.
Yeah.
And
no, I think it's the other way around. I think it would be Purdue Loeffler.
Oh no, personal. So Loeffler's rich, but a lot of her money comes from family.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Which she turned family money into personal money. Which
here's
the
great rub about being rich. If you're rich, and no, hold on. This is a real thing. If you're rich, you run into other people in your rich circles.
Yeah.
So you go to the country club and you run into another rich person. So that when you start dating one of these rich people that you meet at the country club, you can expand your wealth because you're doing pretty well and they're doing pretty well, and then you combine those forces together and you're two people who are doing really well for themselves, as opposed to I feel like there's a lot of relationships where it's like either two poor people getting together. I'm using poor as a generic term.
Less than rich, yes.
Poorer people who get together, or sometimes there's a lot of issues between one person being the breadwinner and one person being less than that, and then the problems that come up with, like, how are we doing the money? Or I make the money, you spend the money. Like
the breadwinner who has always envisioned that they would be able to not be the breadwinner, but then they marry the idealist who's like, okay, great. So you're used to making the money and I'm used to dealing with the issues. So that's going to continue. And the breadwinner.
So you're going to continue making the money, and I'm going to start my own craft brew business.
Yes. Yeah. And the other one was like, no, wait, I got married so I could quit doing all this work and share the load with somebody. And it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
But the other thing about being rich is daddy gives you a small inheritance of $10 million.
Right.
And you meet someone at the country club who says, you're already starting out with such a large amount of money. You must have some insight. So I'm going to pay you an inordinate sum to come do nothing at my company. Yeah. Or maybe just as a favor to your dad because you're fresh out of college with your English degree. I'm going to have you come be a VP at my company and make $600,000 a year.
Yeah.
And you sit in an office for 10 years at $600,000 a year, and all your money just earns interest, and now you're 10 times as wealthy as you were when you started. So good job.
The whole fascination to me about these two in particular, I will never. This is the one thing I won't really comprehend. I mean, like, I guess, the Democrats have their problems just being Democrats in Georgia alone. That's a tough road to.
Democrats were so great. Why do they lose so goddamn always?
It's a tough road to hoe because it's already a competitive state. It's not like Democrats running in California, so you already have that disadvantage against you. And specifically, I think Ossoff and Warnock have various disadvantages that racist people of the South will have issues with. Let's put it that way. And I just don't get how you look at Loeffler and Perdue and say this person fucking gets me. Like, well, I work at Walmart. This person fucking gets me. Like,
I have an image next to you right now of all 4 candidates, and I can certainly say, while John Ossoff does have some things in common with you, unkept hair appearance, general attractiveness.
Thank you.
You certainly have way more in common with Perdue and Loeffler, and by that I mean the staunch upper crust raising that has given you a certain look about you.
Right.
And being white as hell. Like country club, my parents lived right off of it. I almost hit a golf cart with my car when I was 16.
Yeah. Glazed and Grey Poupon.
Yeah. That you got that look about you. So I would say that although you have lived that life, I look at them and say, maybe I want to live that. And I want to say, I have so much in common with these 2 really rich people, even though I don't.
Yeah.
I always go back to, what's the matter with Kansas? Every American thinks they are a billionaire temporarily down on their luck.
Yeah.
And the reality is, that ain't us, folks.
Right.
There are a few of them, and they don't give a shit about us, and they would rather make double their money during a pandemic than help you out just a little bit.
Well, not only that, it's just the dumb luck factor of it sometimes, too. I feel like, some people get famous or rich or whatever it may be, and it didn't have to necessarily be them. They were just in the right place at the right time. And don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to take anything away from any one person, but a one-hit wonder of some kind. Like, they were at the right place, at the right time to capitalize on some talent that they had, but that talent might not have been good enough to make them the big star. Like Freddie Mercury was going to be a really well-known singer, regardless of what happened.
Music had changed in the mid-'80s. I guarantee you he could have modified himself and become a grunge singer if he really wanted.
Not only that, you hear the voice and you're just like, okay, wow. We'll find a place for you.
But that works for everything, by the way, because I always go back to bubble wrap. I did an episode of Rob Explains on bubble wrap. Those guys took 2 shower curtains and sealed air in between them.
Yeah.
It is a $20 billion company now. Yeah. And I'm like, it's all about time. If I had been born 100 years earlier, I would have been a Rockefeller.
Yeah.
I come up with random shit all the time, but it's just like, it's what's as seen on TV stuff. Yeah. 100 years ago, as seen on TV stuff was like blowing people's minds in the Woolworth. Mm-hmm. But I think that the bigger thing about this election isn't necessarily just the candidates. It's not the issues of Georgia. It's not what's happening in the power control in the Senate. It's also the fact that the president is also involved. And this week, the Washington Post leaked a recording of a call that was made between the president of the United States. And I want to be clear that it is the president and not some taping of a mob boss giving a call to a local businessman.
Yeah.
This is the president of the United States calling the Secretary of State for Georgia, who is the other gentleman in this picture.
Brad Raffensperger.
Yeah, which nobody knows who he is, but that's who it is. It's the Secretary of State. And essentially saying, hey, well, I think you put this very well in our discussion. Like, he had 5 arguments going in. He came in and he was like, oh, you've done so well with the state and you've done such a good job. And like, don't you think you could help a brother out? And then he got a no on that. And he's like, this is a crime. This is a crime that you're committing. And then it just like hopped around trying to find the in.
Yeah.
And Anderson Cooper, I don't like to give compliments to Vanderbilts, but he did say, he was just like, this is the art of the deal. This is the great negotiator, this guy that we're hearing on this call. And I just immediately go back to what you just said. Growing up rich, being around other people who are just kind of like, it's Trump's kid. Just, give him a deal. And he thinks he's the greatest.
Well, not only that, but like, it's a lot easier to negotiate somebody when you don't, when there's not something finite on the other end.
Yeah.
Like, You know, like
11,780 votes that you need.
if I wanted to buy a widget from your store, right, and you sell them for $20 and you bought it for 10, I'm not going to get it for less than 10.
No,
unless you're just like giving me a gift, essentially. The
unless I want you
lowest,
to buy 400,000 widgets, and I know I'll take a loss on this one to get you to buy 400,000.
Sure, I mean, like, but there's something in it for you.
Yeah.
And regardless of whether or not I can get it for less money than 20 at all, the best I'm probably going to be able to do is 10.
Yeah.
So Trump is going into these negotiations where he's not going to get lower than 20. He's stuck at 20. This is all he could, like, he can't really do anything.
Yeah, but it's not in his mind, though. Because in
his mind, he can change this around. But I'm saying, like, on the other end, the guy's like, the price is 20.
His favor has value. Like, a pardon has been proven to him to have value. My ability to pardon you has a value. And that's what I think I saw on the call, was just all of these steps of, like, the things that I can offer you that have value. Do you want to be in my favor? I can give you that.
I mean, it was 100% mob boss. If you want to, if you want to know, this is kind of this might be part of the idiot savant element of Trump, because I don't feel like he's capable of, like, really handling this sort of, like, to switch his mind like this, per se. But all the things he was saying were just so close on the line of, like, this isn't me threatening you, but it's me saying, I don't know, if you want your dog to go walk in on that sidewalk next week because I heard it's quite hot. Like,
and I don't think it's idiot savant. I think it literally is practice.
Yeah, it's just like doing that all the time.
Yeah, somebody walked him through it, and now he's a natural at walking that line where you don't say anything super criminal.
Yeah.
I mean, we heard on the Ukraine call, though, that he's not always great at that.
No. And I think that you have to be more inclined to think that this is going to leak than the Ukraine call was, because the Ukraine call was all underneath the walls of the White House. If you're calling the Secretary of State who hates you, you gotta worry about what might come out of what might get leaked out of that call. And also Purdue, just going back to that for half a second.
Yeah. Him
being upset that he would leak the call. Like, this is like, how dare you leak that video of me assaulting a nun? Like, that should be handled behind closed doors. The whole world doesn't need to know about it. It's like, all right, well, now that the world does know about it, maybe we should talk about all the criminal shit that happened in that call.
To be fair, I mean, the Catholic Church is really big on keeping things internally.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed.
Oh, you brought up Scientology too, the Danny Masterson.
Oh, we are pissing everybody off today.
We're not doing that one today.
I think the biggest thing I took out of this.
I think we should do a live podcast in front of Scientology, like on L. Ron Hubbard Way.
They would never allow it. There would certainly be police there.
Let's get a film LA permit and just do it out there, and just do a Danny Masterson podcast or something like that.
I'm fine with pissing off Scientology. You want to work in this town? I don't really care. You're the one who wants to work, so that's up to you. But I think, to me, the biggest part of this story is twofold. Number one, Trump is thirsty as hell.
Yeah.
He called 18 times and finally got through, which, by the way, Donald, we've all been there. We wanted to get connected. We've sent too many texts. Called too many times. And I know you reach a point where you're like, I already look desperate. I'm just going to keep calling until they pick up. Don't. In the future, don't. Because much like that girl that you have been calling too much, it's 100% going to get recorded and 100% going to be gossiped about on the backside of your call, no matter how that shakes out. The other part of it is Breonna Keeler on CNN, who compared the Secretary of State's response to Trump's initial 10-minute long rant.
So that wasn't the Secretary of State, just so you know. That was
his general counsel. Yeah, actually.
Or he was the person who's in charge of implementing the election system for Georgia.
Is it the guy who was on the later press conference later in that afternoon?
Maybe.
Because that guy was fed up.
Yeah.
He was really entertaining too.
Oh, he's like the fucking Eminem of the Georgia press conference world. He comes out just throwing shit, like, and it's great.
I got a whole list of stuff here we got to address. Let's go through it.
There was like about a month ago or something like that. There was some guy who worked. It was like a contract worker for Dominion. Like, I don't even remember. The whole fucking QAnon conspiracy. Like, figuring out like what the real version of this story that deserved this guy's ire is, like, impossible to understand. But the the idea was he did something, but he was just like a temp, basically.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, like deliver toner to the polling site or something like that. And then he got like death threats and people showing up at his door and shit like that. And the guy who was doing the response, the person who puts the whole system together was just like, that's just a kid working a job, and you guys are threatening to kill him outside of his. Like, what kind of civilization do we live in? It's like he's like losing it. It's just like,
I love him.
I've never seen anything like this.
And his one today was just like, let me go through a laundry list of everything that I've heard and why it's all bullshit. Here we go. All right, number one.
All right, so 9,000 dead people apparently voted. We found 2.
And one of them cast their ballot and then died. This is allowed. Under Georgia law, it's a legal ballot if you cast it while alive.
Yeah.
Number 2, we're still looking into, and maybe it'll, maybe somebody signed it for him, but we'll see. Nonetheless, Breonna Keeler on CNN compared that guy's response to Trump on the call to the principal at the end of Billy Madison, where Billy gives this very flourished response about a guy and his puppy, I think is the name of the book. And the principal at the end of it says something to the effect of, we are all dumber for having listened to it. At no point did you stumble into something recognizable as a cognizant point. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Yeah.
It's a great speech. I quote it often. I send it as a gift, GIF many times on work Slack.
Oh, you gifted too.
Oh, I gifted it too. But the fact that she said, and I just remember at the end of the movie Billy Madison, and I quote, and then she read the entire quote, and I was like, the things you never think you're gonna see on TV.
I always like when people quote movies that you don't think they're gonna quote as much. Like we're just gonna see Chris Cuomo later just being like, as they say in the movie, don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood.
Oh, Chris. Oh, careful.
I can't wait for this one. Go ahead.
Minefield of a movie.
Dig deep, Chris.
But so the call obviously is impacting the election. We, just before we came live, did watch Trump doing his rally thing in Georgia, where everyone was worried about who's going to show up. Is it going to be Jolly Trump, which is the one we got? Was it going to be chastising Trump, saying, don't go to the polls, it's all none of it matters?
This was best case scenario Trump for me, I think. He went out there, he threw some red meat to the audience, he said, go vote. That's about all the Republicans can hope he does at this point.
He called up Loeffler. He apparently was going to call up Perdue if he was there. I didn't see him.
We gave up before that point.
Yeah, he called up the crazy...
Marjorie Taylor Greene came up and Rob started having problems.
Yeah, we had to go away because I realized that all other things being equal, I would have 100% tried to date her.
Short,
under 5'2", blonde, dumb as a brick, and batshit crazy. That is what I call a juicy meatball. I cannot. That is a high and tight fastball to Chris.
Rob seeing that one come in, and he's just like fucking Gary Sheffield with the bat swinging wildly.
It's in my head. I'm saying to myself, you're never going to hit it. It's going to go terribly wrong. There's so much pressure on you right now. Don't screw this up. And then all of a sudden my brain's like, you could do it, bro. Just hit it. Knock it out of the park. And then I take a big swing, and a year and a half later I'm in cuffs with a cut-up face on a sidewalk, and then I got to make explanations to people. And call
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
Corey, I know you've never met my mom before. Can you call her at 3 o'clock in the morning? That's not a true story at all. Anyway, so Corey, what are the other things that's coming out of this, though, out of the call? Impact in Georgia. And the other thing is the Congress, not the Senate, the Congress is talking about what to do about this call. Because it clearly, to me, less clearly to other people, violates election law and may need to lead to something. The House is talking about censure, which is something that they can do. But you, however, are looking at maybe something a little more stringent.
Let me just say, the other day I fantasized about a wonderful possibility. And even though I know that none of this could happen, because no part of this would allow to be happen. Would be allowed to happen.
And none of the parties are selfless enough to actually do the thing that they need to do.
Right. And anyway, let's impeach Trump and Pence, because Pence is involved in this whole thing. I don't know what to tell you. He's just involved in this whole thing.
Well, it came out his brother. I thought he was clean until it's like, oh, his family members are deeply involved. In
Yeah.
Oh, like he's dirty too. Okay.
Oh no! At some point, Pence was in. At some point, Stephen Miller went into a room and is just like, "You're keeping this to your fucking self, Pence," and he's involved now. He's gonna be the patsy. Everyone, every good criminal conspiracy needs a patsy.
Especially one that doesn't really know they're a patsy until right at the end. And
wait a
like,
minute,
oh,
I'm the
shit.
patsy. So let's get rid of Trump. Let's get rid of Pence. Just impeach him. Maybe if McConnell gets fed up enough, he'll allow it to happen. And then once we eliminate both of them, Nancy Pelosi gets elevated to President of the United States. This sounds like an awful idea, but stick with me for just a minute. Ready?
At the guilty finding,
they
are no longer in office.
But part of her becoming President of the United States would be she has to give up her seat in Congress. So she resigns the Congress, and then she moves on to the presidency. And then in 15 days, when Joe Biden becomes president, then she can just go back to San Francisco and go fuck herself. And that way we've gotten rid of Trump, Pence, and Pelosi. I mean, it's not everything we wanted, but it's 3 really good things. Like, it's 3 promising developments. I feel like for the benefit of the country,
and
this
don't
is
forget,
the best.
Though, you know who becomes the vice president in that case? Now, it's not necessary under the Constitution, but who would become the vice president for that temporary period?
The Senate pro temp?
Yeah.
I don't even know who that is right now. Who is that?
Well, it depends, because if Loeffler and Perdue get in, nobody.
Mm.
But arguably, if Ossoff and Warnock get in, you could say that the majority or the minority leader of the Senate would be one of the 2 president.
No, but the pro tem is assigned, right?
It's elected. Yes.
Yeah.
And
But
let's just say
it's usually some loser too. It's not usually somebody.
no, yeah, it's somebody who doesn't think that the minority leader wouldn't take the president pro temp because they'd rather be the majority leader. But in your fantasy world where all of these wonderful things are happening, let's say that Chuck Schumer became the president pro temp, he would then become the vice president. He could be elevated by the Senate to the role of vice president.
Why is it so hard to find this?
Because it's not a real thing. Because the president of the Senate is the vice president, and the president pro tem is just who takes that position when the vice president's not there. And the majority leader and the minority leader are the real power.
Second highest ranking leadership position in the U.S. Senate.
Next to the majority leader, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, Chuck would want to be the majority leader, but that's
It might be Grassley.
Chuck Grassley.
Yeah, it's Chuck Grassley.
So as a Republican.
Yeah.
But what if it's a Democratic? What if it's 50-50 split or 48-52, and then they get one Republican to come over?
I guess the question would be, when does Georgia officially send?
It would be Steny Hoyer. Steny Hoyer is the whip for the Democrats now, right? No, he's in the House. Fuck,
Yeah.
he's in the House. Who's the Democratic whip in the Senate? I don't know.
I can't remember.
Yeah, Chuck Schumer's the minority leader.
Isn't Van Hollen up there though?
Yes. Also
Yeah.
from Maryland. I knew it was somebody from Maryland.
Yeah.
So we can get rid of Van Hollen too, because
I mean, I'm fine with Van Hollen. I don't need to get rid of him. I mean,
the
if we're
guy
making
who-
a list, he's not up at
Dutch.
the top. I'm saying
Dutch is the guy.
Well, I mean, like, I can make a huge list of all the people we need to get rid of, but, like, right now, we're knocking out 3 pretty big names.
Okay, you're living in a fantasy world. I'm just trying to aid your fantasy. Like, I mean, how can I get Dutch Rupersberger out as well?
I mean, just a buffet would probably do.
Some spicy food and no around.
Just, if I could quote the great movie Dumb and Dumber. The worst part, we're getting into the House and Senate part of this whole thing, because the certification vote is on Wednesday, and Josh Hawley is positioned himself as the person who's going to say what is the exact term there? I can't remember. Contest the election results.
Oh yeah. Well, what's the actual?
Or the
term?
certification.
I was gonna say fight for Trump or
Yeah, well,
whatever
I
they
mean,
were
like,
cheering about nonsense.
Yeah, he's going to contend the election results, and it's going to waste a lot of time because they're each going to have to break off into their separate separate groups and have a vote, and
I'm just
neither of
realizing-
these votes are going to go anywhere.
The point you brought up that Josh Hawley or Hawley
Yeah.
was the first name on the image that I found, which was the common image today. He is the last name on the list. It's Cruz and
Yeah.
the 10 people he brought along, and then Josh Hawley.
Right, because Cruz tried to big step Hawley by bringing in a bunch of people with him.
Yep.
That's how it.
And that name now is
Because usually it's just the first name that becomes part of the story.
Yeah.
It would be Josh Hawley and 11 other senators.
yeah, but he tried to go it alone.
Now 12 with Loeffler.
And possibly 13 with Purdue, because I don't think Purdue is on the list yet.
Maybe he was going to drop it on the crowd.
Yeah, I was going to say, if he was there, or maybe that's why he wasn't
Trump
there.
was like, we're going to go to a pre-recorded message from David Perdue.
Yeah, just so it's clear, I'm going to contest.
I'm going to contest the shit out of this.
Yeah. But yeah, so contesting the results. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, realistically, there's no path forward here for overturning the election results unless you can convince both the House and the Senate to pass in a majority.
So here,
they need to contest the vote. And then I think right there, you just send it back to the states to work out, right?
So, yes, here's the deal. It's that you don't agree to the certification of electors. That's all the Congress is agreeing to here. So, essentially, 140 congressmen, 12, maybe 13 senators.
I mean, it's part of advise and confirm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not even advise and confirm. It's confirmation of the election process.
I mean, like in this
secure.
case, it's really just acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one more step to say we are white and privileged, and we need to separate the trashy, dirty, common people from the elected. We need to make sure we can, put our parental consent on everything. So not only do we have the Electoral College, but we have the Congress and the Senate confirming what the Electoral College has agreed to. So,
right.
But what they can do is, again, as you said, they can break down every single state or the questionable states and then take them out for a voting committee, come back. If they do convince some more senators or some more congressmen, and they can throw the state count, because again, this is done by state, not by total number.
Yeah.
So if you can pull enough states, they can send it back to the state for reconfirmation, which then just brings it back to the Senate or the House to hear the vote again. And the question is, what good does that do? It puts it in limbo until the 20th.
Well, I mean, really all it does is it gives Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley some airtime.
Yeah. And
like this is all they're trying to do.
On the 19th, let me tell you, if the last vote was held or the next vote was held the 19th, everybody lines the fuck up and certifies it and they're done.
Like did you know who Josh Hawley was before this week?
I mean, I had heard
you were aware of him, but you couldn't tell me anything about him, right?
Conservative asshole who stands for nothing that I stand for and is a senator. Yes.
Yeah.
Probably wealthy, but I took that from being a senator.
I mean, wealthy enough to be a senator.
Oh, and by the way, 4 of the names on that senator list are incoming senators who were elected as part of this election that they are claiming is fraudulent.
Right.
Which I don't understand.
Yeah.
Because we're not questioning the results of the down ballot races. We're just questioning the top ballot race.
Yeah. Well, apparently, all the machines that don't connect to the internet were connected to the internet somehow and then programmed for just the presidential race because those Democrats, I tried to tell them, you could just win a whole bunch of seats. Like, Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham and Susan Collins. Like, it seems like you guys want to win these seats. If we can rig this whole thing, I see an easy path to victory there. But they were just like, no, we'd be too on the nose. And
I at our last Antifa meeting, at the Board of Governors meeting for Antifa, which of course, as you guys know, I'm a part of. I pitched hard for the.
How's the pot roast, by the way?
Not as good as you'd think. Not a lot of homemakers amongst the Antifas.
It was cooked with the Molotov cocktails. They're not great.
It wasn't fantastic. I said, hey, it could use a little milk. They said our milk was busy with the tear gassing and the night. I was like, okay, I get it. I understand. I said maybe a little paprika, and they said, hey, we were making it while they were tear gassing and pepper spraying everybody. We thought it would imbibe the flavor.
The glaze isn't really great. What is this? Oh, blood of infidels. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, thanks. But in the end, I kept telling them, if we're going to steal the election, you got to steal the whole thing.
Yeah.
But as you say, they thought it'd be a little on the nose if we won every single race. Just like, I said, we've been propping up this dead Ruth Bader Ginsburg for 19 months now. What's another 2 months? Let's just get her to the election we're about to steal. And they said, we don't want to draw too much attention to that election. and Soros, from the back.
Yeah,
lit
with the
from-
hood and
lit
yeah.
from the top, so everything is just dark underneath. He was just like, no, it must be this way. So
Yeah.
we have to do what he says, and he's paying all our paychecks. What can I tell you? By the way, this is more of that. If you take one sentence out of context,
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. I can't
we're
wait.
gonna be on Hannity tomorrow.
2 Antifa super soldiers.
Oh man! By the way, my knee real rickety. Oh, God, just hit the camera too. Real rickety because it's been rainy in LA the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Really feeling that humidity and that rain in that old knee from this Antifa super soldier.
It's like, today's the day we overthrow the government. It's like, yeah, you guys go ahead. I'll be in the back.
You got some of that new Advil with the acetaminophen in it? I really need that double dose.
I just need to pick up a couple 2x4s,
For the signs.
I'll
'cause we're
meet you.
making signs.
I'll meet you there.
But yeah, what good?
Robin Bethesda just with his vape, like looking in, going like, nope, time's not right yet. Soon.
There is a time coming. We'll get to that when we talk about COVID. I'm gonna need all of your help for that. Anyway, but let's wrap up on the certification part.
Yes. So it's going to be a big fat waste of time, and it's an excuse to make it seem like to Trump supporters that certain people are taking this very seriously, and that they should be the rightful holder of all the Trump all the Trump voters. Like all the people who are crazy about Trump should not be crazy about Josh Hawley or Ted Cruz. And it's basically just putting their name out there so they can run for president in 4 years and say, oh, I tried really hard for Trump, but unfortunately I couldn't do much because he ended up losing. And you need to pick somebody who would win a presidency, not lose it like Trump. And, he probably better than even chance he's going to be in prison anyway. So,
yeah. You might be familiar with this. When in countries when dictators die, sometimes unexpectedly, you'll see this jockeying for power.
Yeah.
Did you watch
we were talking about Scientology. David Miscavige is a great example of that. Just look at all the
consolidating.
Consolidating power, kicking people out, like making enemies and stuff like that. It's all part of the jungle warfare that goes into becoming the new figurehead of some sort of cult.
I do highly recommend though The Death of Stalin, which is a comedy, even though it doesn't sound like that. With what is his name?
Wasn't Buscemi in that?
Buscemi as one of the future Soviet leaders. But it's just about how Stalin dies, and then all these guys who were high ups were just jockeying and like making friends and pulling in allies, and they do it in a dark comedy kind of way. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. However, I am a communist and I like the history of the USSR. For most people, it's going to be very confused. I saw the people and I was guessing who people were before they actually like stopped still and put the name down. I'm like, I bet you're Khrushchev. Bam, Khrushchev. All right. But so it's what happens in a dictatorial organization, whether that be a private organization like Scientology or Kim Jong-un. All of the rumors about his death and like the sister is doing stuff is all about trying to consolidate power coming out of it. So that's what you're seeing now. And I do want to touch on two things real quickly, just in case you see them this week. Iran, there's a lot of stuff going on. You're going to see a lot about this. Trump is probably going to use this as a distraction. Don't let it distract you. They're refining uranium. They're allowed to because we had a deal with them that we then broke.
Yeah.
So sorry about it. I don't know what to say. When you break a deal with somebody, you can't be mad that they then go back and start doing the thing that they promised they wouldn't do under the deal.
By the way, also just on a related note, North Korea has more nuclear warheads today than they did 4 years ago. So thank God Trump decided to meet with Kim Jong-un and calm this whole thing down.
That really worked out.
Yeah.
You know who else has more warhead capability than they did 4 years ago?
Who?
Iran.
Yeah.
Because Obama figured out how to get them power without warheads.
Surprise, surprise.
Anyway, the other thing I wanted to touch on is Greta Thunberg, who, if you don't know who that is, was famous as a 15-year-old climate activist. I have the tweet next to me here that she sent out on her 18th birthday, where she was being thankful for all the birthday wishes that people sent her, and then trolled basically everybody, saying that you could find her down at the local pub, exposing all the dark secrets behind the climate and school strike conspiracy and their evil handlers who can no longer control her, because that was what people were saying about her during the time that she was more famous, I suppose. I watched the documentary.
So she just did a less funny version of the thing we just did with the Antifa meeting and stuff
she's not a comedian, and she's Swedish, so I don't expect that much from her. She's not as funny, just generally speaking. Also, I watched I Am Greta. I don't know if you checked that out on HBO Max.
I haven't seen it yet.
Or Hulu. I can't remember. One or the other. Everybody should watch it. It's really good. And it gives you insight, because I can't imagine being 15 and having people say stuff like that about me.
Yeah.
When I am like legitimately passionate about something. If you had come to me when I was 15 and said, this guy doesn't actually want to be president, he doesn't care about Republican values, he doesn't really care about George W. Bush, which ironically are all things that were true about me when I was 15 years old. So we've come a long way, folks. We've come a very long way from compassionate conservatism to communism. It's not that far. It's all C's. It's all C letters. So communism. But yeah. Moving on to yet another C letter, I suppose. We have to do our COVID update for the week.
Yeah.
And luckily, Corey, I'm going to let you kick off with this funny, lovely, friendly, inflatable face of a beautiful Christmas tree. And why is that important?
Well, not so friendly when you hear about it and hear about what happened. So a hospital in the San Jose area thought they would lift the spirits of the people in the hospital by having somebody dress up in one of those inflatable costumes. I'm sure you've seen them. And this one was a Christmas tree. And turns out the person inside of there had COVID. Mm-hmm. And also, the inflatable costumes stay inflated because there's a little fan that works as an exhaust and sends air that's inside just out of the costume. And basically, it worked as like a little
sprayer,
COVID sprayer that was following along with the costume. So I think it was like 46 people contracted COVID because of that situation. And listen, that's a really bad fuck up. That's gonna follow you around for a while.
Yeah, we've talked about how bad we would feel if we found out someone contracted COVID because of something we did.
Oh yeah, just like one single person who got it. I couldn't even imagine. And you know, specifically because it's a hospital. Yeah. You should know better. But you know, I was trying to make the point to you earlier. I bet you that they didn't think too much about this. I think it was sort of like, oh, let me just put on the costume real quick. People get a kick out of it. And you know, like I brought up the example of like, have you ever made a really stupid decision or a really like minor decision that you didn't think was going to become this big thing, and then all of a sudden it became this huge thing? Like,
and now you're trying to justify why you made. It's like, I didn't even think about it. You gave me two options. I chose one.
Right. Should I go to the mall or should I get a haircut? I think you should go to the mall. And then you fast forward to 10 hours later, and literally every member of your family is screaming at each other because you said go to the mall. Yeah. And now it's just like, what did I do? I don't know what I did. Like, I can totally see this as like you should know better. But at the same time, I can see how this stupid mistake could happen. Doesn't make up for the fact that 43 people got sick. Yes. And that what's more alarming to me is that, you know, there's been a lot of numbers that sort of get out there. The retransmission rate, how many people you get sick is one that gets thrown around a lot. But there was a number that was out not too long ago about there was a sports conference in Boston, a sports medicine conference in Boston that has
also doctors
but before people really knew about COVID, I think it was like early March, late February or something like that. But a couple people were sick at it, and that the sickness that has spread from there has accounted for like, I think they said like 45,000 cases. Yeah. Like, one person who got sick there goes home, gets somebody sick, who gets 5 people sick, who gets 5 people sick. You know, like you go through the tree, and you think that just like 2 people who were sick at this conference have led to 45,000 cases is like ridiculous and amazing.
That's the South Korea example, right?
Yeah.
Like one guy goes to church and infects 8,000 people in a church.
Right.
But that's how it works.
Yeah.
And this is where I need all of you. This is where I need all of you, because the other news kind of that came out this week, and actually I heard about for the first time this afternoon, is there are now 2 new strains, 2 new variants. One is the UK variant, which is more viral. It spreads much easier, but is essentially the same as other COVID-19, just easier to spread. The second one that news kind of broke today is a South African variant, which scares the hell out of me because it is spreading easier than the UK variant. Also, you are contagious longer and symptoms take longer to show. So essentially, you have a longer incubation period, but you're contagious the entire time. So you get infected. You go to sleep. You wake up the next morning. You're now contagious, but 10 days, 12 days go by, and you're just virally shedding to everybody around you. You feel fine. Then, instead of being done, which is how most of the COVID infections go, like, oh, I just had asymptomatic. No. Now you get symptoms at day 12, and you get 10 days of symptoms on top of it.
Yeah.
So that's terrible because now the rate of infection, the R naught, is going to go up. How many people you infect is going to go up, which means a lot more people getting sick. More people getting sick means more people dying. And I know I've been saying this for a couple weeks, and I don't want people to take it as just a brush off. I'm not happy about this. I know, as Corey points out, more people dying means more innocent people dying. And that is absolutely true. But I am done with the movie that happens before 12 Monkeys, and I just want to jump right straight into 12 Monkeys. So here's what I propose. We just need to get COVID to make one more jump to the entirely deadly version. This South African variant, but very deadly. In preparation for that, I'm going to go start spray painting 12 Monkeys all over the city of LA. And I need all of you to start leaving voicemails on random phone numbers, friends of yours, whatever, just wherever you can. And what you need to do is to say something to the effect of, Rob Cheek is our only hope. He has the answer. He knows. He can solve it.
Yeah.
Because 40 years in the future, when scientists find those voicemails, I want them then to send somebody in a time machine back here to visit me. And on a future show, I'm hoping that we can do an interview with
Future you?
No, it won't be future me because by 2040, I'll certainly be dead.
Yeah.
I'm the Cassandra Riley of this story, which is she died from the pandemic.
Yeah.
But she's the reason that somebody gets sent back. And what I'm going to tell that time traveler is to don't worry about the pandemic. It's not that big a deal. You need to go back and fix these other things further back in time so that we can get off this strange timeline that we've skewed onto. 1, no Trump in 2016.
Yeah.
Really, let's just go back to 2012 and just let the world end right there. I think that's the fix. But I need you guys to start leaving messages for people with my name. And then I promise you the exclusive interview with the time traveler right here on the podcast whenever he's sent back to come find me.
Find out how this whole thing turned out?
Yes.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with a book which has a very similar theme to this, which I have already written and is available on Amazon right now. But anyway, yes. Also, UK is rolling out the new AstraZeneca vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
All good news, except for it's not going to be available in the U.S. for a while. Johnson & Johnson is rolling out their single-use vaccine, which to me is more important because the U.S. is talking about splitting the Moderna vaccine so we can give it to twice as many people. That has not been tested, and it may give twice as many people zero protection against the virus. And we talked this week about the passport. If you had a passport that said, yes, I've been vaccinated, would you carry it? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I would love to live in a world where I know that everybody at this event has been vaccinated. The problem is, if half those people got the Moderna 0.5 vaccine, and I waited to get the full Pfizer vaccine, I don't feel safe anymore in this group.
Yeah.
Especially with the South African variant that's going to kill us all.
I mean, my problem is that when we look back upon this time, I think the thing that is going to stick with me the most is going to be how stupid people were. And, I think there's a lot of people who get sick thinking that they're playing by the rules, and the rules wherever you are not quite the same as what the rules probably should be to keep you optimally safe. And, a lot of people are going to get sick. A lot of people are going to die. That's very unfortunate. It shouldn't have happened to begin with, but I'm really going to think back on all the stupid people who kept this going way longer than it should have. We could have been on top of this way better than we were, and we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in right now. 1 in 5 people in Los Angeles are testing positive. The cases are just outrageous, and they're going to get. We're about 10 days away, I would imagine, or so, from starting to hear some numbers unlike things that we've ever. It'll be like steroids in baseball. Just all of a sudden, people hitting 70 home runs, and you're just like, where did that come from? Like, you're gonna wake up one day and it's gonna be 40,000 cases in L.A. County, and you're gonna be like, oh my god, what? And nobody's gonna know what to do.
I'm reminded of a tweet that I have pinned to one of my accounts on Twitter. It's from Danton, who was one of the revolutionaries during the French Revolution, and he said, "We have no compassion, and we ask no compassion from you. But when our turn comes, shall not make excuses for the terror." Now, that is a little harsh for what I mean, but I just mean, listen, I'm not going to force you to do anything you don't want to do. I can't force you to do anything you want to do.
Yeah.
But there will come a time when this will all be over, and you are going to say, well, aren't you glad we all made it through this? And I'm going to say, no.
I'm glad I made it
I'm
through
glad I made it through it. You did everything you could to make sure that I didn't make it through this, and you're going to want something, and I'm not going to give it to you.
And that's the point of the passport, essentially. Like, I don't even know, even if we got to the point where, say, 90% of people were vaccinated. Yeah. Because that would be a good...
That'd be a nice number.
That would be a number that would help curve this a lot. I still don't even know if I would be trusting of people at that point.
No.
Like, I the Ravens are supposed to play the Raiders in Vegas next year.
Yeah.
I would love to go. I also don't know that even if I'm vaccinated and even if enough people are vaccinated in that stadium, if I really feel comfortable even doing it, because people are so goddamn stupid, it hurts me. Like, it really, like, I'm.
And if you had to go wait in an hour-long line to get a vaccine, or you could buy a passport page for $150, free vaccine. Oh, they're $150 passport page.
They're going to be fake too. That's the other part. Like, people are just going to buy fake passport.
And again, it could be free and widely available. Like, it takes more of your time and effort to go get the vaccine than it does to get the fake passport. People will pay to get the fake passport.
Oh yeah.
And that is, again, I know it's harsh for me to say, a virus that kills half the people who get it. Make dumb decisions, but this is why we need a little bleach.
People will be like, I need to get to Miami tomorrow, but I don't have my vaccine yet, and they won't let me on the plane, so I'll just buy this and I'll be fine, and don't worry about me.
Yeah,
there's going to be a lot of that, and I can't trust it. I just my faith in people. Like, there's parts of this that are super inspiring and make me feel great. Mm-hmm. The fact that healthcare workers are, like, literally not murdering us. Like, I would be, if I was a nurse or a doctor right now, it would be hard for me to put aside the Hippocratic Oath and not smother some people who go in there going like, this is all fucking fake
as they're dying.
Yeah, like,
but like, just hit you with
just
a little
fucking
bit
lean
too
into it, bud. Just lean into it. Like, there's it's amazing the ability of some people to do so much good in this world.
There's a reason I'm not a doctor.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, but everybody, there's tons of people all over the place who are doing amazing things to help people and to try and get us through. And then there's some people who are just it's not even just the dumb people, it's the awful people, the ones who know what they're doing and do it anyway, and the people who are profiting off of it because
making billions. And
like, there's a part of me that gets that Amazon is going to have more sales this year because people are stuck at home, and I need that blender. How am I supposed to get it? Amazon's the only place, like, I can have it delivered to my house while I'm stuck here on quarantine, right?
Or I can risk going out to Walmart, which is open, but then I got to put myself, I got to put the worker at risk, and I have to do.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it was bound to have more sales this year just based off of the situation. But, you think about it, and you're just like, why does Bezos need that money specifically? Yeah. Why couldn't that money get reinvested into, I don't know, paying taxes or something?
Or the warehouse in Baltimore where the starting wage is still $7.25.
Yeah, or just pay all the people who are not making any money from this whole thing, like human beings.
Yes,
and
not tracking their movements with those little wrist things to make sure they're never taking a moment off.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's end with some promising news.
I think in the long run, what you're really going to remember about this year and this time is that the Ravens go from the wild card spot to the Super Bowl for the third time in their history. What?
Is it not play?
Oh, fuck, I hit the wrong one. Hang on.
So good up until that point.
I'm so used to it not working that I just skipped straight to the placard. Just went straight through.
So yes, the Ravens. They won yesterday. They beat up on the Bengals as expected, as hoped, I guess I should say.
Nothing's ever expected.
And yes, now we are the 5th seed. We take on the Titans, the AFC South champions, on Sunday. Also in the AFC, the Chiefs are the number 1 seed. Bills and Colts and Steelers and Browns will be facing each other, as well as in the NFC, the Packers are the number 1 seed. Saints and Bears, Rams and Seahawks, and Washington almost professional football team, and the
Buccaneers.
Buccaneers.
The Tom Brady Buccaneers. And the question has been answered, I think, as well as it can be. Is it Brady or is it Belichick? Brady's in the playoffs. Belichick is not. So.
I didn't think Belichick had a great chance of making the playoffs this year.
No.
The fact that the Bucs literally did everything they could to try and make the playoffs this year, I think is this is what you expected when you made this jump, made this leap.
Other than the Ravens making the playoffs, which is great, and again, we put ourselves in a position of winning, you're in. That's the second best place you can be, other than winning the division. But when the Steelers went 11-12-0 to start the season, what are you gonna do? Is the more upsetting thing, the thing to really discuss is that the Washington not nearly professional football club has a 6-10 record, 7-9 record, and they are in the playoffs as the division winners of the NFC East.
Right.
And they very nearly had the Philadelphia Eagles not thrown the game.
Meanwhile, the Dolphins at 10-6 in the AFC are going home.
Yeah, and also the AFC playoffs have 3 AFC North teams in it.
Yeah.
The Browns, the Steelers, and the Ravens, all from the AFC North, all in the playoffs. All with above 10-6 or better, right? 10-6 has to be 10-6 or better.
Yeah,
or
I think they're all 11 and
So I think I proposed this a few weeks ago. I'm going to just renew it now, moving the Washington, whatever they are in the future, to the AFC North.
Yeah.
And the Baltimore Ravens to the NFC East, just to balance things out a little bit. And by balance, I mean create a dominant team in the NFC East that can go to the Super Bowl every single year.
See, I don't like the idea of redistricting the NFL every so often.
Yeah.
What more than anything, what I think would be fun is if it was like European soccer and there was relegation. I can't remember what the term is for it. Basically, there's like 20 teams,
Premier or not,
but only 15 of them are in the Premier League, and then the rest of them go to like some sad sack league. And if you're a really terrible Premier League team, then you go off to the minor leagues until you can win your way back in.
The Premier League plays those teams, but it's just like, okay, so we need a respite. Let's go play Chelsea real quick. We just need a week off. We'll play our second string, if you will.
Yeah.
Or what what other teams like Philadelphia might call a must-win game at the end of the season. Put in your third string quarterback.
That was fucking pathetic. And the fact that we waited all day for that, like.
I didn't.
Rob gave up. He's like, I'm not doing that. I'm
game.
not doing this thing.
The 2 teams under 500 who are talking about who might win a playoff spot is upsetting. Like 2 or 3 years ago, there was like 3 NFC division teams that were at 500 or worse.
Yeah.
NFC South, NFC West, NFC East. All were doing terrible. And all of them are going to make the playoffs. There's just nothing. And then Ravens were not going to make the playoffs at 10-6.
Yeah.
No, this should not be allowed.
Yeah.
Again, if not redistricting, maybe the Premier League style, and we just take the 8 best teams. No, it'd be more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I mean, it's 14.
14 best teams, and then just March Madness style. Just randomly throw them out in there and have them play.
Well, I mean, there's a little logic to the madness there. It's not.
Okay, so let's use very.
I mean, it's not
logic.
like they just like throw Duke in there and they're just like, I wonder what seed they're gonna be. Oh, fucking 14.
So yes,
it's like they go ahead. They go in. They go like, oh well, Duke's the number 1 seed. So,
but Duke will sometimes play in the West.
Right.
Why? Because there's a draft, and they pick, and they put it in the West. They're number 1 seed in the West.
There's some logic to that too. I don't remember exact. I think like basically if you're the number 1 seed,
They're west of 95.
if you had 4 number 1s that were from 4 different parts of the country, like University of Florida, UMass, or University of Washington, and UCLA.
Perfect.
We're your number 1 seeds for whatever reason in this hypothetical. Then it would be real easy for them to say like, okay, Massachusetts up here in the Northeast and Florida down here in the Southeast. And
the
blah,
problem
blah,
is some years it's all old ACC.
Yeah,
teams.
you know,
Duke, North Carolina, Maryland, and Florida State, and you're like, oh, okay.
Well, Maryland, you're going out west. I don't know what to tell you. Enjoy Pomona.
But imagine if they just took the 14 teams with the best record,
and
then made it East v West. And every team east, and that may not even work because there's more teams east of the Mississippi than there are west, but find a way to divide it and then just have them play. And then, you know what, NFC East, you're not represented. I'm sorry. Because you suck. Because you play there's three worst teams in the NFL and you still could not win.
There's a part of this that feels like anytime there's an example where a losing team makes the playoffs, it's just like we have to rebake this whole cake because it's wrong. Like just like whenever the candidate that you wanted to win the presidency like loses the electoral college, and you're just like, wow, that's popular vote. Why are we doing this? Let's change everything. Like it's like. Yeah, I mean, there's a reasonable argument to make to throw over the electoral college or overthrow the electoral college, but you know, just because you lost is the reason why you're bringing this up right now. You never.
And I'm wondering how much
you didn't do this when Obama was cruising at 320 or whatever.
I'm wondering how much you would be on my side if the Ravens didn't make the playoffs and half the teams in the NFC.
Oh, I would say burn it down. That's clearly. I don't know if you know this, but this is happy, Corey. I'm happy that the Ravens are in the playoffs. So I'm not going
to. If Ravens were 10-6 and didn't make the playoffs.
Oh, you should have heard the alternate universe of me ranting on the hospital in San Jose. Oh. If the Ravens hadn't won, I wouldn't have been like, well, you know, mistakes happen and boys will be boys. Like it would certainly have been different. I would have been in an awful mood today.
Yeah, just remember, Corey's dad wanted him to go into law and become a judge, and this would be the judge that you'd have to worry about. Going into court on Monday morning like, oh, fuck, how'd the Ravens do this weekend? We need a postponement. We need a postponement immediately.
I come up to the bench, and I fucking slam my coffee cup down, and the handle breaks off, and I'm just like, again. And you're just like, I would like to ask for a postponement.
Half the arms in the room shoot up like, Your Honor, we're just not ready for any kind of trial today. Can we just seek a postponement?
Again?
Wait, we are looking at when do they play the Bengals? 2 weeks? Yeah. We'll be ready to go in like 2 weeks. If you just want to postpone it to 2 weeks to Monday, yeah, we'll be fine then. That's fine.
You wake up in the morning and you're just like, oh, ready for court. They lost the Bengals? Oh, fuck. I bet wrong. It's going
to be a bad day. Listen, we should go in here and make a deal, all right? They're offering life. It could be worse.
I don't know if you want to challenge this judge today. Judge Baker, after a Ravens loss, is not the one you want to deal with.
We don't have the death penalty anymore, but he might bite your head off literally in the courtroom. That might be it for you. So at least life, you get to go to prison for a while.
I mean, at least if you make the deal with the DA, then there's a chance that we could get this overthrown later. If he bites off your head literally in court, there's no appeals process. We can't do.
And we don't have that Massachusetts law where you're innocent if you have an action.
I would like these charges dropped now that you've killed my client. No, but seriously, the last time the Ravens won the Super Bowl, it was very similar situations. We started off the season undefeated for quite a while, and then shit got weird, and then we somehow got into the playoffs with the wild card spot. And I'm not saying that just because it happened that way before, it's going to happen that way this year. But I will tell you that the Ravens to win the Super Bowl is plus 1,300. So, what say you? Do you think that's a completely stupid bet? I mean, like, would you feel like you've wasted $100 if you made that bet today?
Only because it would require going to Nevada and then exposing myself to COVID. That would be the worst part of that bet. No, but
I mean, you could get it on a VPN and then all of a sudden you're from Nevada.
I mean, I don't know, Corey. That sounds illegal to me. It sounds like you're putting a recording of you giving instructions on how to break the law and violate gaming laws.
I wasn't saying anything like that. I was saying that you could drive across the state line and get on your phone, and then you could bet online. Like,
is that what a VPN is?
Yeah,
it's drive across state lines.
Is that how it? Is that what a VPN is?
No, but I mean, listen.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to look up the definition of a VPN on my VPN later.
I think
it's gonna be a long drive to Nevada before I can Google that one.
I think you said earlier. I've bet on worse things with worse odds before. Not only have I wasted $100 on worse things before, but I've placed worse bets before. So
you were looking at a man who was in Las Vegas during baseball season. I was only able to spend one day watching baseball and betting on it. Which is an awful idea. Don't do it because it's the worst sport to bet on.
Wait, is this when you went to spring training that one year and you went to the one game that you?
No. I was in Vegas.
Oh, sorry, you went to no games when you went to spring training. You went to
when was it? I don't remember. I was in Vegas by myself at some point, and Ubaldo was pitching for the Orioles, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm just blind luck. Let's just do it. $20 on the or $50 on the O's or whatever it was.
How do you not bet against the Orioles when you?
Because how do I bet against the Orioles?
Because Ubaldo is pitching.
I know I should have known, but I didn't want to have the bet on his one no hitter. Like,
what's the line? It doesn't even matter. Whatever the line is against the Orioles, I'll take it.
Betting on baseball is just fucking. I don't even understand it. Football is so easy because there's a point spread and you get it and it's easy. Like baseball, it's just like. You need a trigonometry degree because you'll just see like Orioles by 0.105973, and you're just like, I have no idea what that means.
But it's not runs. it's not runs. Like it's a whole bunch.
It's like when fantasy football got complicated and they became decimal points and stuff like that. Like it's a whole new system. Anyway.
I never finished better than second, so
I wouldn't know.
I wouldn't understand how that is.
Anywho, is there anybody? I guess let's put it this way: instead of the Ravens, if you had to. If I said gun to your head, you're putting $100 down on some team to win the Super Bowl. Are you where are you leaning?
I mean,
what would your reaction be?
So, I think safe bets are with Mahomes in Kansas City. But I think you get the best of both worlds with saying Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Because I think the MVP talk this year has been Derrick Henry with his 2,000-yard rushing season.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Second rushing title in 2 years, yeah.
Then
which is really more impressive because usually somebody wins the rushing title. If you look at their next year, like they'll have 1,800 yards and lead the league in rushing one year, and then the very next year they have 800 yards.
Yeah, because everybody gets ready for them when they come in, and also you end up blowing a knee out at some point, But yeah, back-to-back years. And Mahomes was in the talk early in the season because the Chiefs were looking unbelievable. I mean, Lamar was too at the very beginning of the year. But Aaron Rodgers and the Packers at the end of the season just kind of commanding their way out of the season just to be like, no, it doesn't matter that I'm 42 or whatever. I got a big dick and I'm going to put it on the table.
Yeah.
And I think you always bet on that. That's just, the guy's got confidence, and what are you going to do?
I do like... If it's my mind going here, the Chiefs are obviously the best bet, I think, because they're the best team of any of by record, the best team, and the defending Super Bowl champion. So they'll be a tough out. The Bills, I think, are a really good pick. I just don't feel confident at all about. I think the Titans and the Bengals the Browns and the Steelers and the Colts are all perfectly fine teams, but I think there's certainly a line between the Chiefs and the Bills and everyone else.
Yeah.
And, the Ravens, it's so hard to tell because they annihilate awful teams, and then good teams are much closer games. They still hold up in those close games, but it's harder. I feel like the Ravens are kind of that line. So to me, it's Chiefs, Bills, Ravens. Again, I might be slanted. Don't take my advice here. But I mean, those three seem like the most likely to advance to the Super Bowl in my mind.
Right, the Steelers did so well at the open of the season, but then they lost to the Jets, and you're just like,
no, it was the Washington.
Washington, yes.
The Washington Professional Washingtons.
Which I guess is also a playoff team, although that shouldn't be.
But then they lost another game the next week. They got Washington said they figured them out. Like the Ravens figured them out. So they've been a far different team since the second time they've played us.
Yeah.
And Cleveland, I just don't trust. I mean, like, it's a good quality squad, like good players and stuff like that, but I just don't.
I mean, also, I don't know. You play a team back-to-back weeks, once at home, and then you have to go against their backup squad, and then you have to go to their home and play. Does that make you step up, or do you not step up, or do you get if you beat them now? I feel like you're overconfident going into the next game. Like, there's just too much going on in that series.
Yeah, though I do like the NFC, even though the number of teams that I like in the NFC are very light. I like the Packers because I think they have an easy path to the Super Bowl, which is great for them. Seahawks, I feel pretty good about. I think I could see a world where
they
Seattle
only have to beat the Rams to get into the next stage.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's the problem. There's teams here that just don't deserve to be the Bears, the Rams, the Washington Professional Washingtons. They don't. None of these teams really deserve to be in the playoffs that much. So I wouldn't feel confident in that. So it becomes like one of those, like, Packers, Saints, Seahawks conversations. I think Bucks maybe.
Well, I was gonna say the wild card in the NFC, wild card, I guess.
Yeah,
not
the wild card
games.
teams. Yeah,
but not even that. The wild card players. You have Russell Wilson, you have Drew Brees, and you have Tom Brady.
Yeah,
and Aaron Rodgers, obviously, but he has a much easier path to the Super Bowl. It's just any of those guys show up on any given Sunday, and they can carry the team on their backs to a win. Most of them are under 6 feet tall too, which is very weird. But if they don't show up, like if Drew Brees doesn't show up against the Bears may go to the next round. They may eliminate may eliminate New Orleans.
Nothing to me from the perspective of betting on this. Nothing makes you feel dumber than when you have placed the bet and then you like sit down to watch the game and you're just like, all right, $300 on the Rams to beat the Seahawks, and then you're just like, wait a minute. I just picked John Wolford over Russell Wilson. What the fuck am I What am I doing with my life?
Oh, and then Wolford comes out and throws an interception, his very first throw.
It's like, why did I do this to myself? Why didn't I see this coming? Like, I wouldn't bet on the Saints. I don't feel like super confident about them either, but like at least they're in the conversation. I feel like there's 3 teams maybe per conference that seem reasonable to make it to the Super Bowl. And then a lot of other teams, like, if they get hot, if they get the right string of luck, like, could definitely surprise somebody and win games. But I don't see, like, I just don't see the Rams making it to the Super Bowl.
Again, would you have gone in and put money down on John Wolford versus Kyler Murray and the Cardinals last week? I just look at that and I'm like, a guy who's never taken an NFL snap against the number 1 draft pick 2 years ago.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to do it.
See, I wouldn't bet that game, but I wouldn't be, if I bet on every game, I wouldn't be terrified of that one in particular, just because the Cardinals have kind of like fucking shit the bed too. So like, it's sort of like one of the, like, what are we going to do? And then Kyler was out for most of the game. So it became backup versus backup.
And that's the thing though, because going into the game,
I know, but
I say like strong cards, and then Wolford throws an interception. And I'm like, great bet. And then Kyler goes down in the next set, and you're like, okay, so these are actually 2 very closely matched teams, and I was focused on the fact that they had a starter versus a backup.
I mean, generally speaking, I think the best way to pick winners in almost any game is to find who has the best single player.
Yeah.
And if you start naming players and it takes you a couple to get to the other team, who are the Texans playing yesterday? I can't remember. Oh, they were playing the Titans, right?
Yeah.
So in my mind, Derrick Henry is the number 1 player on either one of those teams. But then it's a lot of Texans, even though they're a worse team per se.
Okay.
Deshaun Watson, I think, is better than anyone else on the Titans. Maybe J.J. Watt you're talking about, or what's his name? Fucking Slaughter. Or like there's a couple players there that are all in the same. But then you start getting into the A.J. Brown, the Tannehills. Like, I just don't. I think it's easiest to think about it sometimes in terms of like who's the best player on the field. Like, if you're looking at a Rams versus Seahawks, you can say, we got Russell Wilson.
Yep.
So that's our number one.
Yep.
And then, how far down are you going before you get to Aaron Donald is probably 2 there. And like, there's a couple defensive players there,
but forget
like,
about,
I feel like
doesn't produce points though. So
well, they can if they're the Seahawks, or if you're the Rams, they
yeah,
can.
I guess
It's
so.
their only hope.
But in the end, I would say comparing offenses, there you have a lot of Seahawks at the top before you get down to a not a Ram, but a Ram who's going to play in that game.
Yeah,
because they have wide receivers that are out, they have running backs that are out,
right.
and they're
Cooper Kupp might be the second best offensive player. But he might not play.
And I was going to say, I'm assuming he's not going to play.
Yeah.
If he plays, it'll be surprising. But again, assuming he's not going to play, how far do you get down in offensive players before you hit a Ram?
Yeah.
Even if their starting quarterback is back. I think there are.
Oh, I don't even think that matters that much.
Nope, there are better players on the Seahawks.
Well, I mean, like Metcalf is way better than Kupp or Goff, so I don't know. Just a little piece of free advice: just find the best players. It helps you illuminate this a little bit in your mind. If you make a list of the 10 best players on both teams, and 70% of them are on one team, it's a good lean. It's a good way to start your thought process. Because nothing feels worse than you bet against Rodgers and you like look at yourself and you're just like, why did I do it?
Yeah.
Why did I do it?
What on this team is good enough to bet?
I should have looked at a list of the 10 best players and said, oh fuck, Aaron Rodgers is on that team. I shouldn't do that.
And similarly, I'm going to go with something from 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, much like talent, I say measure the dicks of everybody on the team and figure out who's on top. And when you have a team that has substantially more than the other, that's the one that you should back. So sneak in the locker room and make some measurements.
I just love the idea of Rob's like running across the casino trying to get there in time to the sports book. Then he's just like, I want to put money on the game. It's about to start. And they're just like, who do you want? And it's like, fuck, who's got the biggest dick? How big is Russell Wilson's dick? And you're just like looking at the... How big is Russell Wilson's dick? Answer me now.
Corey's sitting at a table nearby like he's always trying to send people dicks. Don't know why.
Well, if you want more very important information for fantasy purposes or for betting purposes only, you know where you can go.
Where's that?
OTheAnthem.com. Core to OTheAnthem.com. Oh, the Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595. And don't forget, you can subscribe to the podcast at anchor.fm/OTheAnthem. The easiest way to go find the links to everything related to getting us in podcast form. And, video on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and the whole nine, as we usually do. Though I think Periscope's down now. I think we're done with Periscope.
Is Periscope now? I mean, we're sending video to Periscope, so...
I don't think they're sending that to Twitter anymore, though.
Well.
I think Periscope is not long for this world. So
it's like Vine.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
You can find more of me at Corey Baker. We get to the end of the episode, and for whatever reason, I can't say website. I just got to, slur right through it. Mm-hmm. You can find my website at CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, and at LegendsCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. There's Rob dying again.
No, I thought of something funny, and then a little less rum, a little more Coke in that mix, and probably won't be slurring as much by the end of the episode. Which is what I was thinking of. And then it's even extra funny because I don't think Corey or I have had anything except for a few sips of champagne in the last 6 months.
No, God.
Yeah. It's been a sober quarantine.
I had a margarita at one point.
I looked at Corey and I realized he could get so much more done if he had my work ethic with how much he stays sober. And then I wasn't getting anything done because I was drinking too much. So I decided to take the work ethic and mix the sobriety. And then I realized the sobriety just makes you question too many things about life. And that's problematic.
It gets in the way of you being able to focus on doing the work stuff.
Yeah. A little bit of liquor can help. But I didn't take it up again. So anyway, you can
that was a lesson I learned after a long summer of lifeguarding.
You can find more of me at Robert and Cheek on all your social networks. I'm back from my sabbatical.
Yeah.
And I've made exactly one post. So I guess I'm back. I also
We're not counting the ones that auto do from expired food or recall.
And listen, everybody should do that. The FDA allows you to auto tweet or auto post when stuff happens, and I think it's just a good public service to do.
No, I'm not discouraging it. I'm just saying that I think it's funny that like you were just like, I'm on sabbatical, you're not gonna hear from me, and then I'd see like a notification that's just like Rob tweeted, and I'd look at it and just be like, lettuce is bad, and I'm just like, oh.
Here's my other part of my 12 Monkeys plan.
Yeah.
That I imagine that the computer at the FDA is going to keep spitting those out years after society goes down, and I'll keep retweeting them automatically. And so they're going to find the voicemails.
You'll be like Herman Cain.
They're going to look at this and be like, this guy just continued to spread the word for decades after society collapsed. When nobody was listening, he shouted into the void. We have to send someone back.
Herman Cain got one of them strains.
Yeah. By the way, that's another thing. New song coming up. But no, so new plan. When the time traveler comes back, I'm going to hit him with something heavy and take his time travel device and then get the fuck out of here.
This sounds more like Rob's plan.
I'm going to travel back to me at 15 and be like, do some push-ups for God's sake and learn how to code. It's going to be very important. Got a lot of personal stuff I got to work through. Anyway, mental health is very important during this pandemic. So make sure you take care of your mental health. Clearly, some of us are not. Find more of me at Robert and Cheek on our social networks. RobertandCheek.com. We can find links to my political blog, the news website, and the books, which are available on Amazon.
Buy Rob's books.
I just noticed this. I'm going to throw it in. This is the book about...
Oh, man, you just sent off the...
Oh, the lights just came on. This is the book I was talking about earlier, The Calls.
Yeah.
An unbelievable true story by Daniel McAllister, edited by me, which is actually just by me. It's one of those things.
Surprise!
It's available on Amazon. You should check it out. But anyway, that's all available there. So.
All right. Well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good. But as always, you're listening to the Oh the Anthem podcast, part of the Oh the Anthem digital network. For Corey, God damn it. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
And let's not do any more incriminating calls this week, shall we? I don't have an hour to spend listening through them.
You or me or Trump?
No, just in general, just in the void. I'd rather not any more calls this week.
No calls. Leave voicemails. Rob Cheek, savior of the universe. That's what we need to do.